We are underway for round 2 of Southern XC and I got a shocking start. Let me explain. I got clipped in, then pulled out, then got clipped in, then pulled out again, then got clipped in, and then I was just like, I'm right at the back now. I was pretty much dead last. I've gone from king of the starts in cyclocross to having an absolute nightmare. So I was back of the field right now and I was thinking I've got to try and move up. This bit here was a savage little headwind. But thankfully the rider here moves up on the right and I'm like, oh, go with that, go with that. And I think I'll go into the woods like fourth wheel, something like that. But it's just, you can't afford to just get shocking starts like that, because I've had to go a little bit harder than I would have had to if I'd got a decent start. But the problem was I couldn't get clipped in last week because I wore my new shoes. I decided to wear my old shoes this week and they were ripping out the pedal. But this course was an absolute mud bath. If you watch my last video, you will know it was filthy. So you're going to have to bear with me a bit with the camera. I try and keep it as clean as possible when I'm going round. So I've gone into the single track, 4th place, and this is when it gets muddy. It was slippy as anything. You come down here into like a lot of the corners were just muddy, slippy, off camber, and it was just here. This one was like slightly off camber. I think I was just pure cyclocross, foot out, flat out. You had to get in the rut. And you can see just how much power you got to put out to get moving. Look at the guy on the left there. Couldn't even get through the mud. Like, the camera just doesn't do it justice. It was a mud bath, and in a minute it gets even worse. But I did pick up a spot there, and I'm into 3rd place now. So not too bad, but Alex is on the front, and he is absolutely ripping it. Look at the gap he's got already. He was going full send. Adam's in front of me. He won round 1. I hate to say it to him, them aero socks aren't going to work in this mud. He had an absolute shocker, but I think I'm off running here. You had to decide pretty early doors whether you were going to run or ride sections, and that was one section which I mixed it up during the race. The reason why is because it was such a dead stop corner and it was muddy, and if you had someone in front of you it was hard to accelerate out. But look at this bit, it was just so, you can see how slippy everyone is. We were all over the place, and the best bit is everyone was in the same boat, but I had an absolute nightmare there and the wheels started to open up again. But it's so annoying just to not have, like, just one race with good conditions be nice. It feels like every race at the moment I'm just rushing about, like swinging about in the mud, having an absolute nightmare. But you can see gaps have started to open. I'll close it down here and I think Adam makes a mistake which opens up the gap again to Alex. I need someone else to blame. I think he, like, yeah, just there he had to put his foot down. I had to hit the brakes. There was like nowhere to go. You couldn't get past through this bit. And as we come out of here, it's where the course gets super muddy. It's like an uphill section, completely unrideable because it was so muddy. So it's pure cyclocross. And your boy turns into Mo Farah. Look at the gap Alex has got in front here. I'm already off running. I just decided, look, Adam's trying to ride it, and I just thought there's no point. Look how much faster I am going running. I went pure Mo Farah up this section. Look at the gap I'm closing. I'm starting to think I should be a runner, not a cyclist. Because when I'm off the bike, I'm bloody faster. But by the time we actually got back on the bike, I managed to shut the gap down to Alex. Look, you can see how grim it is. People are just walking up there thinking, what am I doing with my life? This is cycling racing in the UK. Sometimes good, sometimes covered in absolute crap. And this one was the covered in crap. But you can see I shut down the gap. So I'm now basically in the lead group. You got Alex in front, me second. So absolute result, George Farah is a beast off the bike. We went through this next section. I've had to skip because I've got loads of mud on the screen, but I was on his wheel, and then we came out into this next one, and everyone asked why was I so much muddier than everyone else, and it was because I was on Alex's wheel here, and I got absolutely covered. I just had to close my eyes, and Jesus took the wheel along here. Look at the camera get covered. That was going all in my face, but by the time we got out the other side, I was off running again, and your boy took the lead of the race. When I was on my feet, I was flying. When I was on the bike, not so much, because the other lads had a little bit more power than me, a few more ponies, and I could not keep up with them, as you'll see in a minute. But I'm actually in 1st place now, which feels good. We're about, what are we, 8 minutes in, so I think the laps were taking about 20 minutes. It was only a 4-lap race. Yeah, they were like 20 to 25 minutes because it was just so muddy. You were just grinding through it. But we come down this section and I was slipping and sliding. It was like being back at cyclocross. Your boy was foot out, and it was just trying to stay on two wheels, to be honest. But I managed to sneak past the Ignite rider here, start putting down the power, and I did stay on the front for a little bit, but every time that I was accelerating and trying to get away from Alex, he was just super, super strong. Up all of the climbs, I was really pushing as hard as I can, because the year before, I actually won at this round, but the conditions were totally different. It was dry, warm, fast, but Alex was just not shifting from my wheel at this point. He was glued to it, and every time I tried to attack, it was clear that I just didn't have enough power to drop him. And it wasn't until we got to the next climb, I think it's here, or it might be the climb after, climb 2, yeah, this climb I managed to stay ahead of him, only just, but the next one, he then comes round and starts putting the hurt on, and there was absolutely nothing I could do. He just had more power than me. Look, I was doing like 500 watts to go with him right now. Obviously it's dropped off a bit, that initial surge, but I did go with him initially, but it was hurting, and I was thinking to myself, I hope he eases off the gas in a minute. But I don't know if this was an attack or if he was just feeling super comfortable and wanted to take the front of the race. I'll have to ask him, but it felt like an attack to me, and this is where it all went horribly wrong. I went round this next corner. As we got to the top, I made a little mistake here coming out of this rut. I went too far left, slipped a bit, and you saw the bars go. It then allowed Alex to just carry his momentum, get away from me a little bit. And I thought, don't panic, George, don't panic. Shut this gap down through this next little section. And I tried to shut it down, and it went from bad to worse. When you're on the limit, you just make silly mistakes. And here, there's a tree. You can't ride through trees, Georgie boy, that is for sure. And at that point, Alex just pulled away, and there was nothing I could do. He had more power, more speed, and that was it. My head went a little bit at this point. I thought to myself, I'm looking at the gap and I'm thinking, I don't think I can shut that. I'm already like on the limit, struggling, and it looked like he had pressed on. I don't know if he noticed I had a mistake, heard me hit that tree, but he just went for it, and I could not close the gap down. I tried and I tried, and you can see here it's not massive, but as we come out after this section, we climb back up, and this part of the course was absolutely savage. This drag, this climb and then grassy drag, took my soul. It felt like you weren't even moving, and you can see just up ahead, I could see he was starting to pull away now. Every little bit, he was just super strong on the day, so I'll take my hat off. And I remember coming down onto the straight that takes us back to the finish, and my legs were like, boy oh boy, you've gone pretty hard trying to go with that. And we come back out the other side after lap 1, and big boy George comes past me, and he just said, I can't remember what he said like, jump on or something, tuck in and we can close this gap down. And I jumped on his wheel and I thought, holy cow, this lad's got some power. Look at the power, look at his calves, Rocket, look at the man's calves.
Wow.
Oh, they're impressive. Your boy don't have calves like that. But I jumped on his wheel and he ripped my legs off. I'm not even joking. He is on form at the moment. George is the rider that beat me a couple of weeks ago at the Gorick, and he's been just absolutely motoring. So we moved up past this junior rider. The juniors and elites started a minute ahead of us this time. So you'll see why we're jumping ahead. But he put me in the hurt locker right now. And what didn't help, I don't normally moan about other riders, but I personally think this is a chopper move. The junior comes back past me and gets involved in the race, and really he's sort of a back marker from the other race. So I don't know, is that fair? Yes, no. I seem to have a target on my back because everyone knows I've got a camera on, but just here he come in and like chopped my front wheel. I was like, hang on a second, this is not what I need right now. And George was starting to like put the power down, and I was like, I need to be glued to his wheel. I don't need a rider in between us. I don't know, maybe that's a fair move, but I felt like we were mixing it up for a podium position. That is not what I want. So admittedly, I did have to chop this little maggot in a second. Poor move, because I'm a 30-year-old about to be dad and I stick him in the tape right now. And that will serve you right, sir, for chopping me. But right here, I just slung it up the inside last minute. and basically put him in the tape. What can you do? If you're not rubbing, you're not racing. But look at George's power. Oh my days, he has got some horsepower. And I tell you what, he can also run really well as well. But look at the power he's got here. So I'm off running this section. Look at that. Strong, strong boy. And I felt like that this was where I was missing out a little bit during this race. I did manage to get my running legs going and actually run back past him. But I felt like in the thick mud, I just didn't have that horsepower and that, you know, when you've got to really put out the power at a low cadence. I just didn't have that. And you can see here, about half a lap later, George come back past me. And I did feel like if I could have stayed on his wheel, we might have shut the gap down. But you can see here, I'm off running again. And look at the power he's got. He's just absolutely driving it up here, and this is something that I need to work on, trying to build that low cadence. Thankfully he made a mistake at the top, so me running actually got me back on the wheel, and then I take this absolute chopper line that had appeared through the trees. And I remember coming out the other side, I was like, you got to take that line next time, George. But I didn't manage to get past him. I don't think he stuck the elbow on me there and put me straight back in the woods. But yeah, it was damage limitation now. We got to the next climb. George accelerated. It was quite impressive, the power he was putting out up these climbs and through the mud, and I just couldn't go with it. And basically that was the end of the race. I tried my absolute best to go with him, but he started to pull away, and you know when you can see each lap, and then it went from bad to worse. I went round the corner here, down past pits, and I bloody decked it, didn't I, in a straight line. Whoop, whoop. You can't park there, Georgie boy. Absolute chopper move. And you know when you can hear everyone going, it's embarrassing that. But basically the rest of the race, I was in absolute no man's land. I pressed on. I finished about a minute behind George, I think, and a couple of minutes behind Alex. But it was just a case of just trying to keep your bike in one piece and make it to the end. Alex and George just had far more power than me on the day and had really good races. So I can't be too disappointed. A podium place. There's still some more work to do. I need to just get the power up, and that's what I need to do to be able to close the gap to the lads in front, because they are riding super, super strong this year. But another race in the bag, and that is a third place for me. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one.